Alright everyone, welcome back. Now in this lecture, we are going to learn how we can apply the pagination. So I have seeded the database. So currently you can see I have 1308 records and I have applied the pagination on that. Additionally, how we can also apply the filters so that we can filter out the users as well. So let's get started. The first thing that I would like to show is that if you see previously we were using the all method here. Now I have created a new function. So the all method still remains the same. I have created a paginated users and the default value I give the users, I want to show 50 users per page. And additionally, so instead of all, I use the paginate method and then I also used the with query strings. Now what does this mean? So this means is that whenever there will be any query strings in the URL, so for example, let's say the name is equals to Walid and this query string exists here. Now if I try to go to any other page, so here you can see at the bottom of the screen the query string is already appended. So if I try to go on page 2, you can see that I have a page 2 whereas the name still appends here and the name is also showing here as well. So that is the reason I have used the query strings. So this is the functionality of that. Now the next thing is basically there is nothing special here, just we are returning the users. Now if I go to the index method here, so index page of our users, so down below I have used the users and links. Inside that I have used the pagination of Bootstrap 5 because I am using Bootstrap 5. Out of the box the Laravel will provide you the styling of Tailwind CSS. Alright, so if you are using Bootstrap, so you need to make sure that you are using the Bootstrap and also the version if it is 4 or 5. Okay, so now if you take a look at the pagination, so this is the very I think it's very organized, so there is no need of amendments here. So this looks pretty simple. Still, if you want to make changes to this pagination, what you can do is basically you can look for the pagination here and you can create your own pagination. You can provide the view files to the pagination. So if I show you, um, let me show you where it is. So here you can see that when you are using the paginator, you can also provide the view name here as well. So if you want to customize the pagination, you can definitely do that. But for that, first of all, you basically either need to publish the vendor, or if you are basically creating your own pagination, then you have to specify the view exact path name here. Okay, so that's how you can also apply the styling on that as well. Now let's talk about how we can. So down here you can also see that the Bootstrap 5 also has a default pagination, so it is showing 51 records to 100 of 1308 records. So this is also showing me here as well. All right. Now the next thing that I want to apply is basically I want to apply or filter out the users. So how can I do that? The first thing you will notice is that I have a form here which I created. So this form is basically just submitting the data back to this users.index page. So for example, if I type in my email address and hit search, let me also remove the required functionality here because we are not using that. So if I now enter my email address, so you can see it is again pointing out to my email address, which is already like we now have role ID, name and email. So role ID definitely is basically the empty one. Okay, so what we need is basically we need to apply the pagination here. So how we are going to do is basically, first of all, let's comment this out and create a variable of, let's say, users, and here I'm going to use user query. Okay, and then down below I am going to use um, users is equals to paginate 50 and also with query strings. Okay, or we can definitely return the users here as well. Now, if I try to do the same thing, I should see the same result, which is working really fine. Okay, I can see the same results. If I try to even navigate to other pages, it also works. Okay, you can see that this also works. Now, how can I apply that? So there are two ways. The first way is a little bit complex, not that much, but it works the Laravel way. And the second way, which I always use, is basically I use the if blocks. So the other way also does the same. Okay, I will also show you how you can do that. But let's get started with if request filled. So see, there are two options. We can use, let's say, request has option. So this request has checks if there is a query parameter of name. Okay. But the field, on the other hand, checks if is there any key value with name, and it is also filled. Okay, so that is why I am using filled instead of like using two different options. So what I can do is basically I can apply the pagination on that, sorry, the filter on that. So let's get started with if there is any email. So what I will do is basically I will use users where email is equals to filled email. All right, now let's go back, reload the page, and you can see um, it is showing me basically no email address of that user. Now the reason is that because I am on page 2. Okay, so if I go to the page 1, okay, still I cannot see my email address. Okay, so the reason is that we have missed the operator, and instead of filled, we need to use the input. Now, if I refresh the page, I can see now my user pops here. All right. So this is the first method which we have applied. Secondly, we can also check if there is any role ID. All right. So we can also check for the role underscore ID, and role ID is equals to this role ID. All right. Now, if I refresh the page, I want to remove this and I want to get all the admins. So if I search with all the admins, you can see that all the admins are showing, and they are up to like, I think, more than 500 admins we have. All right. So if I now go for the tutor and search, we now are seeing all the members with tutor. So you can see also the badge or icons here as well. All right. Now the important part is basically this name. So see, we have name in two formats, like the first name and the last name. And definitely we have to check in both the sections if name matches. So what we need is basically there is a little trick to do that. So now I am going to use where, and I can use where like, okay, or I can use where and like operator here, and I can use first underscore name like, and that would be modulus first name, sorry, the name. Okay. Additionally, I can also use the where again, which would target the last name. Okay. Now, if I try to do that, the query would look something. Let me show you how the query will look like. So I can use dollar $users to raw SQL. Now, let me show you what will happen. If I go to search, so here you can see that select static from users where role ID is equals to 2. This is correct. And first name like Walid and last name like Walid. So this is basically checking, okay, so both the fields should be Walid. Now, I want to check if the first name is like Walid or the last name contains any Walid word. Okay. So what can I do is basically I can use where like Okay, inside that I am using the first column and the value. So the value in that case we need to remove this one and the value would be this one. Okay, and I can use or where. Okay, let's actually use where and or where. Okay, now if I try to check this out, so here you can see now I am checking where role ID is equals to 2 and first name is equals to this or last name. What I want is basically I want this one to be out of these brackets. So what I can do is basically I can wrap $users where, and I can pass the callback function to this option. Okay, and now instead of users I can point to these options. Okay, to query. Now if I reload the page, so now you can see that, let me zoom in. So now you can see the role ID is equals to 2 and first name is equals to this or last name containing this. Now this is really working, and this will not break definitely our query. Okay, so now if I reload the page, let me zoom out. So you can see now I have no records at the moment, but still my name is Walid, but I have selected a different role. Let me select the admin and let me search it. Okay, I can still see Walid as not in first name or last name. Okay, so let me also put the like option here because we are missing the like operand. Now if I check, you can see now this is working fine. So we need to basically, the thing is that the key point is basically is that you need to, whenever you are using the or statements, so you need to always wrap them in a where clause. If you are not going to do that, you will see an unexpected results and definitely that you will not like it. Okay, so there are two things I wanted to show you. So the first is basically we applied the pagination, and secondly we applied this search option here as well. Now by following this approach you can implement the search, and you can, no matter how many parameters you want to search on, this will work. So now if I go for, let's say, WAL, and let me see, so now we have like a lot of records here, and down here I can also see I do not have any pagination. So let me actually search for JA. Maybe we have some records of that. So we now have two pages. So now if I go to second page as well, so you can see that I still, my search will still be there, and we now have the filtered records with that search parameters. All right, that's it for this section, and I will see you in the next one.